Subscribe to the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. But we got a nice little lineup today, Sam. Man, a few things popped off yesterday when we weren't here.
Yeah, man.
But there's some things that are fresh and current today that happened, and mainly with Stephen A. Smith and T.O. Finally, somebody called that nigga the fuck out
on ESPN though.
Right,
he got plenty of people calling him out,
right,
deservingly so. But finally, somebody on some airwaves or other motherfuckers can honestly hear it and hear why he's getting called the names that he's been getting called. Now, we talked about why, or I talked about why, I can't speak for you,
right?
Why I won't sit here and call him a coon. I can't do that just because I think it gets thrown around loosely. But he does have some very coonish behavior,
right,
when it comes to doing things on the airwaves. And it kind of confirmed it to me when you had the brother from, he was on the Sports Reporters, and he was talking about how the NFL, at the end of the day, you could be a drug dealer, you could be an abuser, you could be this, you could be that. But the second you go and you are a, what's the word I'm looking for? You're a defiant black man or defiant Negro.
Yeah.
That's when they cut the lines completely short. They can't have any defiance in the league, in particular from black men. And Stephen A. shut down and shut up. I was like, oh, man. It confirmed to me why he went on his phone and started cracking the whip on Colin Kaepernick's back the night that he did his workout and everything. But what's your thoughts on that, man?
Nah, man, I just think that first and foremost, I think that you can't deny one thing you can't do, Stephen A. Smith or anybody, is deny the history of oppression in this country. And I think that a lot of us think that it's something that just happened in the past and it's over with. And you know it is, but you're still going to have remnants. You know what I mean? Lingering effects from different things, people feeling a certain way, having preconceived notions about some people. And I think that it feeds in with Stephen A. Smith being in, you know, an environment with, you know, probably, you know, you got a few African Americans, you know, the higher up you go, especially ESPN and whatnot. I'm sure they're probably getting more, hopefully.
They are.
But yeah, it's an environment where, you know, the higher ups, the people that own the company, the people that call the shots, they are going to push a certain, I should say, criteria down, the type of things they want, the type of people that they want, the type of information that they want to put out. They're not going to bring somebody in there who's really outspoken, who's really going to speak up for the issues. That's why I think in this instance, you got somebody like Max Kellerman, but T.O., who called it straight down the line, said, man, I think that you're, you know what I'm saying, Kellerman is blacker than you know what I mean, for the most part. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get to that. We're going to play the audio. I just want to break this down a little bit, and you see why. Is because, like, when you see yourself being a black man in the position to speak for black people, you can't be always on some passive aggressive, oh, be quiet, oh, just be grateful you're there, oh, this, that, and the third. But when it comes time to tear your fellow brother down, oh, man, you leading the charge. I mean, you can't even wait till the show comes. You pop on your phone, Instagram, and like you said, cracking the whip on his back before the man can even do it. So it's just like that whole thing. I forget to say it, but it's something like, you know, the slave narrative, when you have the slave and then the slave master in the house, and, you know, the house is on fire, and he says, master, our house, you know what I mean, is on fire. Nah, that's his house. So he's going to, you know, since it's his house, you got to go by his rules. And when you don't, you see what happens. But, you know, definitely. Yeah,
let's get to it, man.
Yeah,
T.O. was on ESPN of all places and went in on Stephen A. Smith. We're going to get that commentary cracking.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about it. Let's go.
Here we go.
You have a problem with that? Well, I think the thing is, in the black community, like I said, I'm in the streets. I hear what's going on. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. The thing is, I think, Stephen A., you have a platform. It's okay to disagree, but it was the way you were going about it. It was almost like you were attacking him. And I think the thing with Colin Kaepernick and the way that things shifted right at the doorstep of this workout is just a transparency. You alluded to the document. As that related, I mean, as I was referring to it with the document, the waiver, again, like I said, when you insert language into something that's not standard, then obviously you have to take time to review those documents. And like I said, they weren't given adequate time to do that. And so to now insert that and then think that he was going to sign it right at the door front, then that's not fair. You giving him, you know, if you're going to give him a fair workout, then give him a fair workout. You know, he was allowed no media access. They were trying to dictate who his receivers were.
I have to stop you there. I am on the air right now listening to a Hall of Famer who I believe has had a multitude of opportunities to highlight unfairness that has been exacted from him. Did that stop you from accepting the challenge, knowing that you were walking into situations that were flagrantly unfair, that you were operating behind the 8 ball at a disadvantage, courtesy of a system and an entity that obviously had a lot of power and influence to compromise whatever your aspirations were? You do it, I do it. There are people that sit up there. You ain't the only one that accused me of attacking him. I would ask you to recall what I said. What I said is that I have been supporting this man. What I didn't support was you sending, not you, meaning him, sending the message that everything has to be ideal and everything has to be fair in order for me to embrace the challenge to acquire what I have been behind the scenes through my camp telling everybody I want. If you don't want to work out, that's fine. If you think it's unfair and you want, and I know Max, you want to get in, I'm gonna bring you in. And you want to, and you don't think it's fair, that's fine. And you want to get your lawyer, and your lawyer wants to stand up there and say, this waiver is an issue. We're ready to work out, but not until they alter this waiver, etc. That's different. But to not do the workout, to change locations, and then to go and give a speech to the media without taking any questions, any inquiry as to what's really going on, you are leaving others to surmise what the hell happened.
Can I answer that real quick? Do you mind if I jump in, Tio?
Yeah, before you do that, but
go ahead.
What I want is transparency, Stephen A. And that's what I've done it. I've had incidents throughout the course of my career. And then there have been times where I've gone into interviews where I've done an hour and a half, 2 hours of an interview. And then they break down and they edit. And then you guys get on the show and there's a panel of people. And then they break down whatever clips that they show. They're not showing the entire hour and a half or 2 hours of that interview that I've done. So what he wanted was transparency for people to see the full workout, to see the full Colin Kaepernick. Again, you mentioned obviously Max is going to get in here, and like I said, I'm in the streets. Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A. with his coming, with his commentary.
With all due respect, my brother.
I'm just saying.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna check you right now. You don't cross the line.
I'm just saying.
Time. Wait a minute. You don't cross the line. First of all, like I said, you, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, any of y'all that want to debate me in front of black people and talk about what's best for black people, name the time and place, I'll show up. I want to hear, what's the definition of blackness? Is there a definitive definition of blackness? Why are you giving the impression that because I don't march lockstep with every single thing that Colin Kaepernick wants? Okay, excuse me. Hold on.
I'm not agreeing with everything that Colin Kaepernick has done. I'm
not saying that, but you said, you just sat up there and used an expression. More blacker, excuse me, from Hollis, Queens, New York City. You ain't the only brother out there that's in the streets. I'm in the streets every day, and I'm a matter. So let's be very clear. You damn well know that's the truth. And so my point to you is this: again, I'm not going to disrespect you. I'm not going to go that route. But based on just what you just said, this is supposedly Stephen A. and T.O. going at one another. Did you know that I invited Colin Kaepernick to give him this platform for the entire 2 hours? I said, you can edit the damn show. You can have it live. We can talk whatever you want to talk. The floor is yours. I also gave that invitation to Eric Reed. I know people at other networks that has given Colin Kaepernick that same thing. They disagreed with him to some degree. Are you questioning their blackness too? Come on, man. There's certain things that's crossing the line.
Dude, I mean, you're taking it as disrespect. There's no disrespect.
There's no disrespect to that?
No, look, it's tongue in cheek, but at the same time, like I said, I'm in the streets. Like I said, I hear what's going on. And as I said, you don't have to agree. I don't totally agree with some of the things that as I texted you the other day. He could have articulated or expressed his thoughts better than he did in the interview.
Thanks for watching.
So there you go, right there, man. SamAnt, I gotta, I know you're ready to go.
Yeah. About
this, so man, go in on what you just heard, man.
So look, first off, T.O. said something that a lot of people wanted to say, but don't have the platform to say it, to national stage platform like an ESPN, like T.O. just had, and it was disrespectful. It was meant to be disrespectful. If you got a Jewish dude sitting up there and you have a brother sitting up there and you say that the white dude is sitting there blacker than you, that's disrespectful, especially someone as prideful as a Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A said a lot of things correct when he responded. He said that what is there to judge on someone's blackness? Just because we disagree doesn't weigh my blackness more than yours. Yeah, you're 100% correct, Mr. Stephen A. Smith. I agree with you. You also are out here pounding the pavement, putting your money where your mouth is into certain organizations to help young black youth and things like that. I've looked that up personally. He's doing a lot out here for the youth, way more than a lot of other suckers that claim to be doing stuff are really doing. But what T.O. is talking about is when you take your national platform, your national stage, and then you take it beyond that and go on your cell phone representing that national stage, and you pull your shiny whip out and you get that motherfucker nice and wet for this dude's back to say, how dare you, as opposed to just sitting back for maybe a day and assessing the situation. Texting Colin, yo, what the F are you doing? This is an opportunity of a lifetime. Because if you genuinely felt that way and your reasoning made sense, and it did, why not just go to that man personally and do that? Why take it upon yourself to get on your phone to do this the way you did it in front of millions of people and then go on a national audience the next day to reiterate those words? Not only to get shut down by a brother, and I don't remember this brother's name, y'all gotta excuse me for that, and to have no response to anything that man said. What was your response to him saying that the NFL ultimately just wants to crack the whip on Colin Kaepernick and don't want him in the league for that? Like I told you yesterday, oh God, I had issues with Colin Kaepernick. I said this a couple days ago on the podcast. I'll let you go, my fault. I had a couple reservations, and I was a little upset at Colin Kaepernick. I didn't understand what was going on. Why in the hell would he want to go back to a place that despises him for some money? I didn't understand, for the love of football, whatever. I didn't understand it after NFL. And then it dawned on me, I had an epiphany that I think that Colin Kaepernick was calling their bluff the entire time. What Stephen A. fails to bring up is that the NFL on Tuesday, the Tuesday prior to the Saturday workout, called Colin Kaepernick and said, here's your workout, here's a location, here's the teams that coming. You got 2 hours to respond, yes or no. Click. So he was caught under that. Then they have to sign this waiver. He looks at this waiver. The waiver is, there's things in it that really don't make sense, giving the NFL potentially out if in fact he does interview with an NFL team. They ask him if you go ahead and if you are going to kneel for the anthem. He says yes. They don't have to sign him. Collusion, non-paid, because now he signed his waiver that he can't sue for collusion. His lawyers tell him not to sign. Stephen A., why don't you bring that up? Why don't you just go, you know what, you're right, my fault. Let me look at this situation deeper. If you're a black man who cares about black people, and I know that you do, but I also believe in my gut that there's somebody, but in your
not
pockets,
to the extent
maybe,
though.
You know
He don't care about black people to the extent to go against the grain. though. That's the thing with Stephen A. Smith, and he won't. He knows that if you were really to go there, even if he knows that's right, what you just said, that can mean his job, that can mean endorsements. People will not think of him as the good old boy, Steve, that's going to come to our, whenever we need him for these issues, we can prod him out there and get him out there and to say what we need him to say. Now, T.O., I'm going to focus on something that T.O. said, because he talked about in the streets. He kept making that, differentiation between, and the reason he's saying that, because he's putting Stephen A. Smith like on a different level. Like, you up with them corporate dudes. You ain't seeing it from the street how people feel it, and, think from the street what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad, that he was able, to put that, out there. And I just think that, moving forward with this whole situation, you talk about Colin Kaepernick, Terrell Owens, Stephen A. Smith. I'm so super glad that somebody was, and the saying goes, just to jump right to it, right? When you seen T.O. say this to Stephen A. Smith, if you're looking at his countenance, you're looking at his face and whatnot, he knew where he was going the whole time. And as soon as he said it, as soon as he threw the rock, he started yelling. And the old saying goes, the only one, only one is going, the pack of dogs, and you throw a rock, the only one's going to yell is the one that got hit. Stephen A. took that, because he knows, he responded like that because he knows for a fact that he is not going against the grain. He knows what the truth is, and he's scared to say it because he knows that if he puts it out there like that, he could be in jeopardy and he could be made an example of. Just keep it a buck. You ain't got to come on here and do all this and tiptoe around the tools and shit like that. Keep it a buck. You know that black men with that type of posture are looked down upon, especially in corporate America. It just is what it is.
Highlighting the Kunta Kinte shirt and how that was wrong. Highlighting certain things that had
like
no
stupid,
different fucking matter in the whole say it all. Come on, Stephen A. But to your credit, you do go on platforms outside of ESPN and you do highlight these issues. Hey, man.
We don't want to throw him away, Sam, man.
I don't.
He's still valuable, but you got to call out. And we ain't going to all agree on everything. We all got different viewpoints. Me and you got different viewpoints on things, but it's just certain thing that you expect us to stand in solidarity, just like no different than people who are the same race as Max Kellerman. You never going to hear them having different, viewpoints when it comes to things that deal with their race and oppression and things like that. They all going to be on one accord, period.
Yeah, red and blue all day fighting politics, the religion all day, but when it comes to that power, that race, you don't hear jack.
Yep.
It is what it is.
But shout out to Stephen A. Smith, man. And, we definitely appreciate it. I like stuff like this because it always brings up great talking points that we can elaborate.